Hello everyone, welcome to Knowledge India. In this tutorial, we are going to understand different types of IP addresses which are available with AWS. Those are private IPs, public IPs, and elastic IPs. Now there seems to be a lot of confusion, with some of people in terms of understanding the difference between these three. So I would like to quickly cover this as part of this tutorial. So I have an EC2 running already and as you can see, it has got a public IP address, right, and it has a private IP address as well, right. So first let's understand the difference between these two. Private IP address is something which is gonna be there with every EC2. You will not find an EC2 without that, because that's mandatory. For this machine to be reachable from any other instance which is there within that VPC. Now, in what way this particular private IP gets allotted? This is based on the fact that in which VPC this particular instance has been launched, and within that VPC in which subnet it is actually located. Now, based on the every subnet has got a range of IP addresses allocated to it, and based on the subnet in which an EC2 is launched, it gets a particular private IP. Now, the scope of this private IP, or when I say scope, it means the visibility of this private IP remains only within the VPC, which means using this particular IP address, any other instance would be able to communicate with this particular instance only if it is there within this VPC, right? Anything which is outside of VPC will not be able to reach this machine using this IP address. That is where now the scenario is, I want to connect to this machine from my laptop, right, which is not there in Amazon VPC, of course. So how will I do that? In order to connect there, I'll have to put an address, I'll have to attach an address to this machine which should be accessible from outside. That is where public IP comes into picture. So while launching this machine itself, I had chosen that I want to allocate a public IP to this machine, and hence I got this. Now, I would be able to connect to this machine from my laptop or from anywhere outside of Amazon VPC using this public IP address. I have connected also. I'm connected using remote desktop, to this machine. But now, what happens is, so I hope with this you are clear between you are clear with the difference between private IP and public IP. The scope of public IP is universal. You'll be able to access a particular resource from anywhere using the public IP. But what happens is these public IP addresses are limited in number, right? So currently it is following IP version 4, and hence 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to this address. So the number of IP addresses, public IP addresses, are limited, and hence every provider tries to optimize the use of these public IP addresses. So the way it works in Amazon or in AWS is, up to the time a particular machine is running, and a public IP address would be available for it. But if I go ahead and stop this machine, this public IP gets released. Yeah, and next time when I start it again, I would have a new public IP address allotted to it automatically. Understand? I talked about stop and start and not reboot. If you reboot, the same public IP remains there. But if I stop and start, even for small duration or long duration, this public IP would go away and something else will come up. So I'll just go and do this. I'll say stop. Okay, so machine is stopping now. It's still there. As it reaches stopped state, pay attention to private IP and public IP both. As it reaches to stop state, public IP would be released. So it's stopped now, and this is empty, right? But the private IP remains there because private IP, as I explained you, it is more, its scope is there within VPC. It is more of a logical IP address rather than being governed from outside. So there is no harm in keeping it there. Now I'll go ahead and start this machine again. Start. So the machine has started again, and as you can see, the public IP address has changed, right? The connection which I had for remote desktop for the older IP, that got terminated as well. Now, if I want to connect to this machine, I can very well go ahead and do a remote desktop to this new machine, and I can do it. Now, there would be scenarios where, because of some reason, you would want that whether your machine starts or stop or anything happens, the public IP which is allocated to your instance remains fixed, right? Because that particular IP address is known to a lot of people outside, and you would not want to lose that IP address. In such cases, you can go ahead for an elastic IP. So let's go ahead and reserve a new elastic IP. After reserving that, you can associate it with one of your running machines. I'm associating that, and I said associate. Once this is done, come here, refresh this. Now the older public IP address which was allocated to your machine from the pool is released, and this IP address, this is also public IP address, but this is elastic in nature, which means this is reserved for you now. Up to the time you go and actually release it from here, this IP address remains with you. It's up to you that now it is attached to this particular machine. Whenever you want, you can stand up a new machine, maybe of higher configuration because of the need, and just go and detach the elastic IP from the older machine and attach it to a newer one. Outside world would not know that now they are actually hitting or sending traffic to a newer machine, right? So that is the use. It will not go away. Doesn't matter, you start the machine, stop it, whatever you do, this IP remains there. That's the utility of elastic IP address. One point to understand: what is the pricing mechanism for elastic IP address? There is no charge when it is attached to an instance which is running. You will be charged only when you reserve it and do not use that elastic IP address, or you attach it to a machine, attach it to an EC2 instance and stop that, and the instance is there in stopped state. At that time you will be charged. All right, I hope that clarifies the difference between these. For more tutorials, please subscribe and keep watching. Thank you. Bye bye.